have seen how Bruno imbibes the principles of the sexual revolution, or at least how he began to. We haven't actually seen the depths of his degeneracy. It is really quite sad. But we need to look at Bruno's brother Michel and Annabelle, the character that comes from the pretty traditional family. And that's what we will do in this video. First, Michel. Remember that Michel is the son of Janine and Mark when Mark was a movie producer. Janine was searching for love, but confusing love with sex. Mark is a loner who has a spell with Janine, but ends up disappearing while doing a documentary in China. Michel is raised by his paternal grandparents, both of whom are Catholics and de Gaulle voters. He was born in 1958, so he is coming of age during the height of the sexual revolution. Michel is the main character of the book. One might call him the protagonist. The book begins with him as an older man getting ready to take a sabbatical from his job as a biological researcher. The book ends with a reflection on his contributions to making a new humanity. That epilogue is an account of how one of his followers popularized Michel's teachings about asexual reproduction and saving the possibility of love in human psychology. So Michel is both beyond sex and concerned with defending love. And that is a very interesting position. In fact, if Michel's mom is a kind of precursor to the sexual revolution, Michel is a kind of precursor for a new way of life beyond the sexual revolution. He is a bridge, creating a new ethic or showing its possibility because the old ethic is itself exhausted. Bruno shows how the old sexual ethic is exhausted and leads to human misery. Michel, Bruno's brother, is a precursor for that new way. It is almost as if Houellebecq is saying that the sexual revolution is already an exhausted possibility that is playing out the string. It is already so corrupt and beyond saving that exposing its limits is not enough. A new possibility lies ahead, and the character Michel shares the first name as our author, Michel Houellebecq. He's pointing to that new possibility. So what kind of a character is Michel? The book begins with Michel at an office party, a pitiful affair. Michel leaves the party with a woman she is never named. She seems attractive, at least our author compliments her hair and her skin and her breasts. Michel doesn't know how to say goodbye to her. They shake hands and parts. She goes to her car and she waits. He sits in his car and waits. He wonders what she is doing and wonders if she is happy. Michel then goes home to his empty apartment, except he has recently acquired a companion, a white canary, an animal that sings but does not seem happy. When he took the canary out of its cage, it flew onto the balcony, through an open window. Then it tried to set itself free by flying away. But it forgets to flutter its wings and smashes into the balcony below. The bird dies, but at least he got to meet his neighbor. Michel eats TV dinners in silence. His sole companion, a bird, is dead. How did Michel end up this way? On the other hand, Michel is a professional success, in a manner of speaking. He is the head of a research team aiming to understand the genome and molecular biology, but getting into something deeper. Michel knows physics and wants to apply the insights of quantum physics, where matter is not stable, to biology. Once biologists were forced to confront the reality of the atom, the very basis of modern biology would be blown away, he thought. Michel is getting ready for a sabbatical at the age of 40. He wants to take his time to go and think about the implications of this insight. Remember, the name of the book is Atomised. The title obviously has a double meaning. Individuals are separated from one another and atomized socially. But if biology can be atomized or brought in with physics, is there a possibility for physics that can save humanity? Could being atomized end up being the savior of humanity? So Michel is alone and desperate and saw no reason to continue on with his life. but he has some professional importance. He seems to see a connection between our current way of thinking about biology and our present discontents. To put it crudely, genes plus environment equals Bruno, a pure product of his time. Michel stands for the idea that we can think about this and escape it. That is the impression that the first 3 sections of Lost Kingdom relays. Then we learn about the background and childhood of Michel. He is a reader and a loner, interested in science. His reading points to a possibility. A perfect morality is always universal, he says, while the application to it in everyday life is always a compromise. But the more universal, the more happy a society. Michel is a solitary child, without friends, without even the need for companionship. The other kids let him alone, unlike the brutalized Bruno. Michel meets Annabelle in Section 9, a recounting of life in 1970 when he was 12 years old. They met in school. Annabelle took a shine to Michel, and she becomes Michel's one real connection to humanity. As Houellebecq ends Section 9, they walked back through the meadow, slowly getting to know one another. Unlike Caroline, who wore a miniskirt on the date with Bruno, Annabelle seems to be outside the new dating system. She thinks of marriage and true love. She knows that Michel is her man, but Annabelle has a curse of a sort. She is a beauty, even a rare beauty, who makes every man's head turn. The terrible predicament of a beautiful girl is that only an experienced womanizer, someone cynical and without scruple, feels that he is up to the challenge. More often than not, she will lose her virginity to some filthy lowlife in what can prove to be the first step in an irrevocable decline. She loves Michel, but Michel goes to college. He would never really put the moves on her. He could not, because he was beyond human connection. Houellebecq puts the relationship between the two in a telling way. If his life had depended on it, and in a very real sense it did, Michel could not have kissed Annabelle. In 1974, things took a strange, sad turn in the relation between Michel and Annabelle. Michel threw himself into his studies. A boy kissed Annabelle, but she was not moved. Then the brothers and Annabelle go to a Woodstock-type festival. Annabelle meets David, the son of a lover of Michel and Bruno's mother and a second-rate woman actress. Annabelle becomes a notch on David's bedpost. There were over 500 such notches, and Annabelle has an abortion. She had found David's sexual performance overpowering. In any event, Annabelle would suffer from precisely these problems in the ensuing year. Great beauty is corrupted in a sexualized society. She was a prize to be won, and without a faithful foundation, she is corrupted. Her natural monogamy and romanticism are turned against her virtue. Meanwhile, Michel's grandmother dies at the end of Part 1. For 25 years, Annabelle never sees Michel again. He becomes what he has been becoming, without the humanizing influence of Annabelle. Annabelle becomes what she was becoming, without the true love that Michel's presence seems to lend. The difficulty here is that Michel could not reciprocate. Annabelle is almost the ideal woman. Any civilization would be proud to nurture her toward motherhood and wifehood. That is what she seems to want. That is what society should want. But that is precisely what does not happen in the sexual revolution. There are no worthy men for Annabelle, and the reigning ethos does nothing to support her monogamous desires against the strong, attractive alpha males. Annabelle values marriage, but the men are not really marriage material, and nothing transforms them into marriage material. Certainly Michel is not marriage material. He is not even friend material. He is a rare person, a eunuch for science, it seems. But such a person can, in a sense, be excused. He isn't living a life of meaningless rutting or frivolous accomplishments. He is a man of genuine insight, and his philosophizing and thinking take him beyond the realm of normal human relations. That is as it should be. We have left our three main characters on the cusp of adulthood when we leave Part 1 on the Lost Kingdom. It is the early or mid-1970s. The next section gives us a glimpse of them at 40 years old. This is a fruitful time. What happens to our three characters in their adult lives? What do their lives mean? Having laid a good foundation, we could go more rapidly through such questions in the next video.